cases with the skeletal remains of Chewy. That's a nickname we've given to a woolly mammoth. It was found up near the Great Lakes region, but we do have evidence that the woolly mammoth, which was a northern mammoth, it got as far south as this particular Kansas City area in here. But in this case is the lower jaw with 3 teeth of a Chewy, the woolly mammoth. Now that was age dated by radiometric carbon-14 methods to be 11,770 years old. That's when it was alive. So it's a real specimen in here. But notice the shape of the teeth in here. The teeth are like an old-fashioned washboard. They're about the size of a loaf of bread. But this was a not quite full-grown mammoth, because the mammoths, like modern-day elephants, in their last 30 years of their life, they lived some of them as long as 70 years. But in the last 30 years of their life, they will have only 4 teeth, 2 of them in the upper jaw and 2 in the lower jaw. And of course, the way they eat with their trunk, they will pick up vegetation, they will open their mouth, lay the vegetation on their teeth, and then they move the lower jaw back and forth, grinding it, just like a grist mill. And so this particular tooth that you see in here, we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but it's adopted to chew it on grass. And but it wasn't quite full grown because it still had 1 tooth that was being erupted from the back. The teeth in these mammoths came in like on a conveyor belt. They didn't come from the upper or lower jaw like ours. They, of course, moved along. And when 1 tooth became worn, it would fall off and the other tooth would take its place. But then whenever they got about 60 years old, of course, they had 4 teeth left, and those gradually wore down. And when they fell out, why then, of course, they couldn't eat anymore. It was a very effective method of controlling the age of creatures in here. But you see, the woolly mammoth was a northern mammoth. They mostly lived north of here, but they did get this far south. The studies with DNA show that they interbred with the southern mammoth. Now there was at least 2 different types of mammoths that inhabited this area. There was the northern mammoth in here, that was Mammuthus primigenus, and then there was the southern mammoths, Mammuthus columbi. And that was the southern mammoth. But the northern mammoths, of course, had a lot of long hair on it. It was about the size of an Indian elephant today. Some of that hair was 3 feet long. That, of course, kept them well insulated in cold glacial climates. And then the Columbian mammoth, the southern mammoth, it probably didn't have very much hair on it, but we don't know because we don't have any evidence on that. But this, we'll talk about this is a Columbian mammoth, Mammuthus columbii, and this is a woolly mammoth, Mammuthus primigenus in here. But what I've shown on this particular plaque is the ranges. This would be the range of the Columbian mammoth, mostly south down into, I think, I don't think they ever got into South America or into Central America, very much into Central America. And then on the next drawing here, we have the range of the woolly mammoth. And so the red dots show that they probably interbred. And they most likely produced some sort of a hybrid elephant in here. So although this specimen here came up from around Great Lakes, we do have evidence that the 2 different species of mammoths, the woolly mammoth and the northern mammoth, the woolly mammoth, and the southern mammoth, the Columbian mammoth, they of course probably interbred and produced a hybrid elephant in here. So we also have in the case over here 2 vertebrae from the same elephant, from the same mammoth. Some backbones in here, rib bones, and then we have the femur. This is a leg bone of Chewy, and this was the part of the leg bone in here. Notice the size of it. Another thing that will tell you that this wasn't a quite full-grown mammoth yet. Notice that this sutures in here would probably have been closed up with bone calcification in here. But this specimen we put on the tables because I know children like to touch something. So here it is. It's okay to touch the leg bone of a mammoth that once lived.